All right, great stuff from X there. Now moving over to the defense. Now let's start off in the trenches on the defensive line. If you've been listening to the show for the last couple months, it might sound like a little bit of a broken record, but all the eyes, at least my eyes, are going to be on the middle of this defensive line. The edges, I feel great about. We'll talk about them here in a moment. I'm really confident about what the edges are going to be able to do in this defense of Brian Ward, this aggressive scheme of Brian Ward. But man, the big questions, I think that ultimately the kind of the fate of this defense might be determined by the play of the middle. Now you have Anthony Cooper coming back, shifting in from a career that was mostly at end, now kicking into the three technique inside. At the nose, Deshaun Mallory is the Michigan State transfer. He's there. He looks impressive. He looks the part. But those two guys are going to be heavily leaned upon as kind of the veteran presences of this interior defensive line that's going to be counted on a lot. You have some very talented youngsters in Tristan Monday and CJ Fight, the Tempe Texan, that really kind of impressed during spring. But man, it's Joe is I just cannot understand or cannot overstate the importance of how I think the defensive interior line play is going to really kind of dictate the rest of this defense.
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt. And as you mentioned, there's a lot of talent that will outline at the edge positions, but a lot of that's going to be predicated on how effective they are on those interior line spots. Anthony Cooper has been a above serviceable player, a dependable, maybe not flashy player, but it's very important that he came back and he's going to be relied on. Deshaun Mallory, I know there are a lot of folks that are incredibly high on him, and there were some back and forth issues as far as whether he'd even make it to campus. He obviously is here, which is a good thing. So he's one kind of in that Aaron Frost mold of, all right, you've got experience and you're playing at a position that they need you. So it would be wonderful if that dude steps right up. Monday there were some encouraging things coming out of camp about him, but CJ Fight, I mean, he's someone that could be intriguing from day one. High expectations. He's starting to get some rumblings. For whatever it's worth, you see these lists and impact freshmen and so on and so forth. His name has been popping up a little bit.
He might be the strongest player on the team right now.
Got a lot of time. Yeah, that's saying something. You got some dudes out there. Got a lot of time in the spring. So that's a guy that maybe on the entire defense or one of them that really intrigued to see how he pans out as a true freshman. Of course, the toll of college football season and the wear and tear of playing in the Pac-12 that happens, but we've seen plenty of players be successful at a very early point. So I think the expectations are increasing dramatically for him. So I'm eager to see how things pan out for him in year one.
Yeah, so if those guys are able to kind of do their job and hold their spots in the interior, I think there should be this chaos in the best type of way coming from the edges, because BJ Green was a damn menace throughout spring practice in the best way. He was just absolute force, just multiple sacks. It seemed like every practice. Now, he, of course, played his first couple seasons as a Sun Devil, both seasons in which he was he led or was tied for the lead in sacks. But kicking out to the outside in this defense of Brian Ward, really impressive. Just every play. And we talked about at the beginning, just, some of the difficulties the quarterback battle going to face a little bit in spring, because the pass rush was very good. And it wasn't just a one-man show of BJ Green. Clayton Smith, the former 5-star recruit out of Texas who played a couple years at Oklahoma, just did a sit-down series episode with him. A reptile and snake enthusiast, a very entertaining, very interesting dude. But he also is just was really impressive. Now, if you got Green and Smith coming off the edges, that's a good position for any kind of defensive coordinator. But they're not alone. Prince Dorba, a very talented transfer coming over from Texas. Garen Stansbury is a guy we talked about. Tremendous physical tools, kind of all the raw talent. But this is heading into I believe year 3. Is he finally going to be able to be enough to contribute? Elijah O'Neal was an extremely productive pass rusher at the junior college level, and then the 4-star prospect of former Auburn commit Ashley Williams, another spring standout, loaded at the edge spots. I think after probably the worst pass rush season we've seen from the Sun Devils ever, at least in our lifetime, that should be a thing of the past, because there's way too much talent coming off the edges, and in this scheme that is going to be predicated on bringing the attack to the opposing offense, that those sack numbers and those quarterbacks that AC's facing aren't going to be very comfortable.
I mean, if BJ Green isn't a household name in the Pac-12 yet, I'm very confident by the time the season's over, he will be, double-digit sacks, certainly well within range for him. Talking about that group of edges as a whole, I mean, that gives you the ability to rotate. I mean, obviously, we saw that under the previous coaching staff, and when you can do that effectively and rotate on the defensive line, we saw that and hadn't really seen that at that much before. That was a breath of fresh air and a really interesting thing where you can just attack, have guys go 142 miles an hour because they're going to play a handful of snaps. Then they'll get a breather, come right back in, and you just got guys turning in an assembly line of it. And you could give some interesting looks. I've heard things they might give looks as far as just having all edges across the line where you can just have at the quarterback. So, like you talk about, I mean, that first line of just Green and Clayton Smith, I mean, those are guys that could get it done if those are just the top dogs there. But you bring in others with high intrigue. I'm really curious about Ashley Williams. He got quite a bit of time in the spring as a mid-year transfer. Elijah O'Neal, from evaluating the signing class of the high school and junior college signees, he was someone that really stood out to me as far as what he did. So a lot of guys that are going to be chomping at the bit for time. We saw how Brian Ward's defense can attack quarterbacks. We saw it, in the most hurtful way possible when ASU played up at Washington State last year. That could be happening by the good guys this year when you get all these guys that are hungry for it. You think about the players that are on this roster of edges. You've got a 5-star who's transferring, and that's something that that can be a little bit of an ego hit if it doesn't work out at school number one. If you're a JUCO guy, a lot of those fellas are just kind of predisposed to being the underdog and trying and proving people wrong. You got Ashley Williams, who's a want to come in and prove that his accolades are legit. BJ Green, again, similar type of guy, former walk-on, been told that he's undersized for the position, but just overachieved every step of the way. Kind of that same light, the same conversation we're having about Trenton Bourget, about Cam Scadaboo. You've got some of these guys that are playing key roles for this team at a variety of positions who may not fit that prototype of size or, other measurables.
Don't fit the NFL model or the pro model, you say?
Model. My goodness, that'll make your skin crawl saying that. But that can be a good thing. Use it as fuel for all the people that might have told you no, or the things you had to go through just to earn a scholarship or just to get a D1 opportunity, or to avoid people calling you a bust if you were a 5-star and didn't, kill it from day one. So I hope that there are a lot of things that fuel this group of edges and they take it out on every single quarterback that they see.
It would be one of the other defensive ends that we should talk about, Mike Matus, the veteran leader of that position group. He's back after missing all of last season with his torn ACL that he suffered in fall camp. And great conversation that I had with him recently, and he's extremely hungry to come back. He did not want his career to end on the note that it did, and he didn't, whether it's just personally in terms of just the injury, but also just to not want to leave and the Sun Devil chapter of his life, and just on the lowest point that this program has seen in a while. So he's back. Now, he's obviously not going to be that kind of explosive pass rusher off the edge that Clayton Smith or BJ Green are, but he's been a very steady performer. He's one of the most well-respected leaders in that locker room. And so it'll be interesting to see kind of what role this defense is able to kind of find for Mike Matus, because he's such a valuable player in a lot of different ways. And be interesting to see, obviously, he's been through, I think he did the count like 6 or something D-line coaches over his time. So I mean, this guy he's seen a lot in his 6 years as a Sun Devil. So you just really hope that he's able to kind of contribute and kind of cap this stretch as a Sun Devil on a very positive note.
And as you go a little further down the potential depth chart, you got guys like Blazin Lona Wong, Sam Benjamin, Landon Thomas, the freshman coming in from Louisiana. You talked about Matus. It'd be wonderful for him to end his career on a high note. He's someone that, was just never that flash guy, when he was playing back a few years ago with the likes of Tyler Johnson, Jermaine Lole, DJ Davidson, those types who, got a lot of attention at the college level and beyond. But he was a guy that did his job and provided a tremendous amount of value on the field and off. So it's a very valuable presence. And from the perspective of just executing on the field and what he brings to this lineup, and for a sense of redemption after, a long injury setback, you hope for and want the best for him this year.
All right, moving over to the linebackers. Now, this is a group that I think is a little top heavy, which might be good. You might be able to get away with, because of course this is a new defensive scheme that is a 4-2-5. So you're only playing 2 in the base, but a lot is asked of those backers. Now there's a couple of guys that bring a lot of kind of, if not full-time starter experience, but maybe spot or rotational starter experience. Trey Brown is a guy that has been so valuable to this defense since he came over from Washington State, obviously coming in with Brian Ward and linebacker coach AJ Cooper. He knows this defense. He's been like acting in kind of a surrogate coach role as well, but also a very effective player throughout spring as well. Now, it's where Brown is going to be figures to be a starter. It's going to be what happens alongside him. Jawan Mitchell is a guy who is new to the program, who you'll hear from. A very entertaining dude here in a few minutes. But he was most recently at Tennessee. Also spent some time at the junior college level. Also played for Texas. So he's been around and had some production at some high Power 5 level, but just never really able to have a chance to kind of make things his own. He seems hungry. He seems ready to go. Will Schaefer, of course, the up-and-comer. I mean, he's been around the program now for a few years, but really kind of was able to kind of solidify his starting spot in spring, at least, before the addition of Mitchell. And he looks like a guy that he's completely transformed his body since he stepped foot in Tempe. Well-respected guy as well. So I think you feel pretty good about those three and kind of mix and match. James Djonkam just obviously looks the part. I don't know if there's a single player who's more excited about this defensive shift in mentality from kind of just being passive and playing on the back heels like they were a season ago to being attacking and bringing at an offense. You'll hear from him a little bit later on in the show. He's very excited to have that. But then you have a lot of questions. Is Caleb McCullough, Tate Romney, Crew Jackson, are those type of guys ready? Is a true freshman, Kavion Thunderbird. Great name, but is he going to be able to contribute in year one? So I think right now you have a little top-heavy a position group, but just I think schematically you might be able to get away with that.
Yeah, and it's a paradigm shift because you've got the departures are what make the questions a little bit more substantial for this position group. When you lose Kyle Sully and everything that he meant to this program, and Merlin Robertson, who was a consistent performer, obviously started off his career gangbusters, but was a consistent performer for 4 years at Arizona State. So that how are they going to fill those shoes? That's a big question. But yeah, it's like I'm Jawan Mitchell kind of goes back to, like I was mentioning about those edges. He's a guy that's bounced around a little bit, and you got to feel like some of these players that transfer a couple times that does create a chip on their shoulder of wanting to kind of control their own narrative as opposed to saying, oh, this is just a guy that's kind of a troubadour bouncing around school to school. There's the method to the madness and the ability to contribute at a high level. He's put up some impressive numbers over his career. If you look up what he's done at other schools, that's going to give you some intrigue. So I think, those top 3 to 4 guys that you mentioned, if they can stay healthy, I think this is going to be, of course, health is going to be important across the board. But on defense, health at linebacker, I think, is going to be integral, as well as, some of those top level positions on the interior of the defensive line. Keep these guys healthy, keep them hungry. Trey Brown, I think, is one that could be ready for, a pretty substantial step up from the solid things he did at Washington State. Will Schaefer, this is a great opportunity for him, but there's going to be a ton of competition because it's a really pivotal point in his college career, because he could establish himself as a, legit, reliable starter if he's able to, emerge from the pack. Or it could be a scenario that's, been kind of similar to what has been the case his first couple of years, where it's more of a spot starter, reserve role, special teams duty. Not that there's anything at all wrong with that, but, a good opportunity, a key opportunity for him to take the next step in his Sun Devil career.
So we'll see exactly how the Will and Mike roles are shaken out in fall camp with the addition of JuJu Mitchell. And on that note, let's get to know the newest Sun Devil linebacker. It's conversation with JuJu Mitchell.
So why was Arizona State the right place for you?
Oh, definitely. Like I told the guys earlier, so just to make change, I looked around different. I played in the Big 12, SEC. So between me, honestly, it was ACC, Pac-12, or Big 10. And I didn't want to go back up north. I'm from there. I was like, what didn't I do yet? West Coast. So I had a couple schools in the Pac-12, but I looked around. I'm like, where can I leave a legacy? Where can I be most beneficial? Where would I be heard? Where would I, things like that, Arizona State.
So what about Kenny Dillingham and his staff made you believe that this is a place where you could leave your mark?
Because they got kind of the same, they're a cool staff to where they let the players lead. I've seen that. They're very humane, got great personalities, things like that. So every time I talk to them, it's always been straightforward. It's never been a power thing or them trying to, it's kind of like we all in this together.
Brian,
With so many new guys here, what's it like getting to know everybody? You're included in that group. What's it like? There's over 50 new guys.
Yeah.
What's that like?
Oh nah, so I'm happy about that because it's like it's like the transfer portal beautiful because we all build relationships, we all get to understand why we here, and I feel like once you understand why, then you'll go to bat for anybody. But you just judge a book by its cover and don't know why, then you don't build relationships like that. You know?
A lot of winning and success is camaraderie in the team. How's that being built right now? How's that coming along?
Oh yeah, we coming together, definitely. So like we all just working together, like trying to be more leader effective. Because when you hear, so if you hear one person correct you, it sounds like an attack. Right. But if you got 6, 7, 8 people holding the same standard, saying the same thing, now it's like, okay, we gotta live to that. We gotta live to that. So that's all we're trying to do is just carry water, chop wood.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Nice to meet you, bro.
Nice to meet you too.
so defensive coordinator Brian Ward's known for running a pretty aggressive defensive scheme. You know, kind of learning this 4-2-5 system, what things kind of jump out to you?
Really everything, how multiple he is. Like you never really know where things are coming from. Like me being the Mike, I could be covering the tight end or covering the back, or I could be covering the receiver. That's apex. Like it doesn't matter. Like so we just very multiple. You never know what you're gonna get. That's all I say.
And so I kind of, as your role as the Mike backer in this defense, you know, what are some of the things that are going to be on your plate? Obviously, versatility is going to be key, but you know, what are some of the things that your key responsibilities in that Mike role?
Really just being aggressive, you know, like from what I seen, Deion Henley, I watched a lot of his film from Washington State last year. He was very aggressive, like going to get it, just play football. That's what I like about it. It's free. You know, we just talk. It's free. It's free.
What are some of the things that kind of jump out to you about the rest of that linebacker room? You have a veteran like Trey Brown, you know, some up-and-coming guys like Will Schaefer and such.
Yeah.
You know, what are your impressions about your linebacker teammates?
Oh yeah, they get me going. You know, Trey played in this defense last year, a whole year, so he know a lot of the defense. He tell me everything I need to know. I'm gonna try to add my own flavor into it, but he tell me everything I need to know. Will coming along, we got a great. I feel like we got a solid 5. Will Schaefer, James, Trey, Caleb, and K Money. K Mon, he actually came on an official visit to Tennessee when I was there. It's crazy. But yeah, we got a good group.
What kind of stands out to you early on about your position coach, AJ Cooper?
Man, you see what you get. Straightforward. You gonna coach it right there. That's what it is, you know. It ain't nothing he's just a pure guy. All these coaches from AZ, they love it here. You know what I'm saying? They want to see the best for this school. Like literally, I can see it. You know what I'm saying?
The fall camp's coming up. You know, obviously a bunch of guys can be vying for jobs in that defense. You know, what are you looking forward to, and what are some of your goals for fall camp?
Man, just the camaraderie. When things are getting down, seeing who's standing up. You know, seeing everybody fight together. Just getting through this camp. It's gonna be a hot one. So for me personally, I want to just get better every day, get my win right, things like that. I know it's gonna be hard when the pass come on. So take it step by step and just be a leader, vocal. Let others see me fail too. Be out there, be an alpha. That's all.
So you've had a long road in your college career. You know, making the stop here in the desert. What do you want to accomplish? What does success look like for Juwan Mitchell here at Arizona State in 2023?
I'm not gonna say personally, because last time I said personally, I got hurt. I'm not gonna say personally, so I'm gonna say as a team, I want to have a winning season. And if we have a winning season, you will hear Juwan Mitchell. That's all I say.
All right, as we wind down the look at the defense, let's go to the secondary. Now, this is an area where there might not necessarily be a whole lot of like returning starters, but it's deep and it's talented. And while this is going to be a new 5-man secondary as opposed to kind of the more traditional 4 we've seen in recent years, I really am confident that this is going to be one of the strengths of this team, not just of the defense, but I think the big thing is just how the depth chart is going to shake out. You're looking at cornerback, you feel pretty good because you got Ro Torrance, who's show that he can be one of the very best in the conference. Missed a few games last year, but when he was in there and you know, that big body, those long arms, he's able to kind of shut down passing frames or passing lanes with that big frame. I think he's going to be take a next step and be an all-conference caliber guy. And then some of the other guys in that group as well, Mason Williams, Ed Wood, you know, D Ford's the new addition from Austin P and FCS transfer. The question is, you know, Isaiah Johnson's a guy that's been in this program for a number of years, a high-rated recruit. Is he going to be able to get out of his own way get his head on straight, and be a contributor. We saw in flashes last year that he could, but right now, if you're able to unlock him at his full potential with his head on straight with this new staff, and you got Rowe and you got experienced guys like Ed Woods and Mason Williams, your corner spots are feeling pretty good.
Yeah, Johnson, that's a enigma to say the least. And there's whatever's going on, tweets that are deleted, some Twitter activity recently that just cryptic stuff that no one can figure out if it's about football or life or whatever the case may be. Like you said, someone that has an abundance of talent, and he showed it last year, but then that was, I think, followed up by not even making a road trip because of disciplinary issues. It's like one step forward and a couple back. You would just hope, because I mean, you when you boil it down to these student athletes as human beings, you would just it really sucks when you have situations where immaturity, a lack of discipline, whatever the personal issues are within that 4 to 5 year time frame, which, as many of us remember, just as college students, goes by in a hurry. You hate for those situations to take away significant future opportunities, because this is a guy that, if he can play at the level of his potential consistently, keep all the other stuff under control, he could have a professional football career. So, but it boils down to the individual being, self-accountable. So hopefully that can happen. It seems like, it remains to be seen. I'll put some hopeful positivity that the guy can have a productive career, because like you said, when he's on the field, he's as good as any cornerback on this roster, but it's really just a matter of him staying in the good graces of the coaching staff, keeping things focused on the matter at hand, and blocking out all the outside noise or whatever, influences exist to stray from focusing on football. So hopefully for him, it can be a consistent thing, can channel that energy into something positive, because when he does that, that's a huge boost. And this is a guy that can play ball, but you can't do it from the sidelines.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what comes of that and his situation, if he can get on. But I do think that, even in a situation where you don't have an Isaiah Johnson, you have a pretty good returning group of corners. You mentioned, Jordan Clark's a guy who has seen time at corner. D Ford, very excited to see what he's able to do, making that jump up from the FCS level. He had a terrific stretch with Austin P. Now, at nickel, you figure, Ford, Clark, guys who can be in that spot as well. But it's the safeties, Joe, that really kind of jump out to me. I'm really excited about this group of Sun Devil safeties. Xavier Alford is the former USC and a one-time Texas player as well. Now, his status is going to be is kind of up in the air. He is I believe, a two-time transfer who does not yet have a degree, so that his availability for the season still in question as of this recording. If he's able to play and get cleared, that's a huge boost. He was great in spring, and he was not the only new safety that was great. Shamari Simmons, also from Austin P, was absolutely great, and he was showing great ball skills, great coverage ability, also a heavy hitter. Now, he's not a guy that's like a huge Chris Edmonds type, but he has just delivered a lot of loud hits. So I think those two newcomers are, bringing their skill sets to Tempe, along with the returning Chris Edmonds, who team leader in interceptions a season ago. It'd be interesting to see exactly, where Edmonds fits in this defense as well, as a returning starter, but a couple of very talented newcomers as well. And one guy, in talking to so many players this offseason, who stood out in terms of, the newcomers on the defensive side of the ball or the secondary, the name Montana Warren kept coming up time and time again. Now, he was an early enrollee, participated in spring ball, looked good, number 18 in the program. But he continued to be mentioned by a lot of these veterans. And so I expect him as a true freshman to see a pretty good role. And so, yeah, and just overall, just very excited about this group of safeties and see how it all shakes out.
And going back to Alford, that would be just some next level BS if that, and obviously he's not the only one, but I mean, with all of these rules that are relaxed or non-existent or transfer portal and, these exceptions that are made and things where it's just the Wild West in college football. I mean, that element of it would be beyond nonsense if he and all others in his position wouldn't be able to play. I don't know if Jake Smith would fall under that category technically because he's at Texas and USC as well. I don't know the specifics of that whole thing. So certainly hoping for the best in that regard. But yeah, as you're talking about, you got some very intriguing, very interesting options across the secondary. A couple that are coming up from the FCS level. Guy like Chris Edmonds, who did that last year. Now that he's got a year under his belt, what's year 2 going to be like for him at the FBS level? He had a very solid year last year, but there's the ability to build on that. So yeah, some really intriguing names. If you can get that full lineup out there, and then the depth that we're talking about, and some versatile players who can play nickel or some that might be able to move into safety, you get some depth in the secondary, and you've got some top end guys that have proven it. You've got some newcomers or transfers or newcomers of a variety of different shades, whether it's from the high school level, transfers, whatever it may be, FCS, FBS, a little bit of everything. So yeah, there's some intrigue there for sure. So this defense, as massive of a concern as it was last year, and as vastly disappointing in many ways as it was last year, if you get those edges working up front, you get the secondary working, and if you get the rolls out of the linebackers and the interior linemen and have them, at least not be liabilities, I mean, you could see some positive swing in relatively short order.
Yeah, it'll be interesting how it all comes together, and especially when you have a coordinator as aggressive as Brian Ward, it's going to be quite a refreshing and a great relief for Sunville fans, even if they, the results take some time. But just to see a defense that's just not kind of sitting back and waiting for the offense to do something to them, that they're bringing the fight the other way, is going to be really a good change of pace for the Sun Devil team. Now, as we close out our fall camp preview, special teams, I mean, the 3 specialist jobs are set in terms of Dario Longhetto is going to be your kicker. Slater Zellers is going to be your long snapper, and Josh Carlson is going to be your punter. All local guys, all transfers. Those jobs aren't in question, barring any kind of injury. I think it's really just the special teams questions going to be who are the returners, and we'll see. There's a lot of very explosive guys with the ball in their hand that we've seen in spring, so I think that's really going to be kind of just what happens on the special team side of thing. But Joe, as we close out here, before we talk to James Djonkam, what are some of the big questions? Obviously, quarterback is number 1, but if you were to power rank, after quarterback 1, what are your biggest kind of concerns and questions that you want answered over the next month before Southern Utah comes to town?
I would say the continuity of the offensive line. It seems like we've got a good understanding of, at least who 4 of the pieces would be. Finding that set of 5, having that be consistent, having them make progress, and just looking to where you're content with it to begin with. Again, I know that I'm setting the bar pretty low, but just be content with it to where there's progress, there's health, there's stability and continuity, so that you go into the season. Because I know we've seen some, it's more in the spring, but we've seen some camps in the past where they just mix things up for the sake of mixing it up. You take the guy who's the center and put him at left tackle for some reason just to see what they can do. Again, totally different staffs, that sort of thing. So that to me is the main one that stands out, is making sure that you have a continuity on the offensive line, because the opposite of that would be if there's one or multiple guys who just maybe aren't getting it done. So you got to work, play a chess game and work other pieces, or maybe move a guy from this spot to that spot because this guy can play and the other one's not doing so hot. So we got to just have these multiple degrees of trying to figure things out. Continuity on the O-line, big deal.
Yeah, I think right after that, got to switch over to the interior defensive line. We've talked about it ad nauseum. What the situation is going on there. So the interior D line for me is going to be absolutely crucial to focus on. And, obviously, so you need to have improvement in big type of ways on both sides of the both lines, on both sides of the ball. And then for me, I'm just going to be real curious about what happens at slot receiver, because there's a lot of talented guys just kind of vying for that job, because you feel pretty good about your guys on the outside, but in the slot, I think it's going to be very interesting to see, because if Jake Smith especially is able to kind of get back and find that form and kind of tap into what he should have been before all the injuries, this could be a next level offense.
Next for me would be running back, and just to see how that strategy takes shape. Is it going to be a heavy dose of Cam Scatterboot or someone else? Is it going to be more of an equitable distribution? That's going to be very, very interesting, because that's going to obviously dictate what's likely to happen in the season, and there's a lot of different ways that could go. and a lot of guys that seem to be at like a similar level, because there isn't a lot that's too terribly proven among the group behind Scadabo, but even though what he's done and what he has proven has been done at the FCS level. So how that pecking order shakes out, how that distribution of touches, not just carries, but touches goes among the running back group, that's going to be really interesting to see in fall camp.
Yes, a lot of intriguing storylines for ASU and this fall camp, this next month leading up to August 31st opener against Southern Utah. So we will be with you each and every week going along the way once camp does get underway, tracking everything down, getting you ready for the upcoming 2023 season. But as we kind of put a cap on the defensive preview as well, here's a conversation with ASU linebacker James Djonkam.
Fall camp's just about a week away. What's some of the things, like how's your offseason been going? What are some of the things you've been focusing on to kind of get ready for it?
Offseason's been going great. I've really been focused on getting to the playbook and knowing everything like the back of my hand, for real.
So at the end of one of the spring practices, I was talking to you in a scrum, and you seem really excited about the new tenor of this defense, being really aggressive compared to kind of what the situation was last year. As you've gotten to know more about this defense, what kind of things really jump out to you about what kind of defense that Brian Ward's asking you guys to play?
It's NFL defense, so I know that's going to help me translate into the league when I do decide to go. But most importantly, it's a defense that lets the linebackers play, see ball, get ball, and also we're in the pass too, so it's really beneficial to everyone around the whole defense. Lets the D linemen eat, lets the DBs cover, and lets the linebackers do what they do best and see ball, get ball, and hit.
Just just the aggression front, being kind of like allowing you guys to go play football and be aggressive, kind of considering last year's scheme versus this year. How much, how does it feel just kind of as a defender to kind of, have the ability and the freedom to get after it now?
It's undescribable. Being able to finally be on that field and knowing I'm going to be on that field this year is something that it's like a dream coming true. I've been waiting 4 years to get on that field, and now that's finally here, I'm ready to eat, for real.
It's obviously been a long journey, the junior college draft and coming to Arizona State and kind of, putting in the work and then getting this chance. What are the kind of the lessons that you've learned along the way about just kind of the business of college football and just kind of, how it shaped you, just having to go through kind of a difficult kind of, uncommon route?
Yeah, patience. That's the one thing that I learned, is that if you have patience and you grind, put your head down, good things will come to you. So my main thing was just that, even though you know how good you are, you just gotta stay down, be humble, and when it's your time, you produce and you shine.
Now, being a part of the program last year and this year, it seems like it's kind of a night and day difference in just the program culture, the guys I've talked to. What things have jumped out to you most, compared to what you experienced last year and the first 7 months of the Dillingham era now so far?
Everyone's bought in. That's one thing that I really realized. Everyone's bought in. We're a team. It's not a bunch of individuals playing on the field like it was last year. Especially during spring ball, I'm out there, I'm communicating with my teammates. They're reciprocating it. It's not just a bunch of people, hey, do this, do that. And when it don't get done, start barking and start bickering at each other. It's more of a team where you can critique someone and they'll reciprocate it and they'll understand it and they won't feel defensive about it like how it was last year.
What kind of jumps out to you about Kenny Dillingham as a leader of this program and kind of what he's brought to kind of, it seems like really kind of revitalize not just the program, but the ASU community as a whole?
I say the way we practice and the way we prepare. I've never felt more prepared ever playing football. I've been playing football for 15 years now. Doing the off-season kind of student-led or players-led walkthroughs is something that has helped me tremendously, because a lot of people can sit in a film room and watch everything and retain it, while a lot of other people need to do those reps, walk through it, be really on the field to understand it. And that's one thing I felt like he helps cater and teaches to different styles of way that people learn.
It's one of the things that kind of, in talking to some other players, that they said, when he came in, he didn't say, this is how I'm going to do things. He asked you guys, what do you need from me as a coach in order to be successful? What does it mean to have a coach taking that approach? It's kind of very kind of unconventional in a way.
Oh, he's a player's coach for sure. He understands that it's not the program that makes the team, it's the team, it's the people on the team, the players that make the program. So he wants to really cater to that. He wants to ask the players, hey, what do y'all feel is doing? What do y'all feel is right? What do y'all feel is wrong? How do you feel about this? How do you feel about that? Of course, he has his own plan. He's been in college football for about a decade or so. I'm not really 100% sure on that, but he knows what is right, but he also understands that the players also know what can best benefit them.
AJ Cooper, your linebacker coach, what are some of the things about, it seemed like you guys are really kind of digging what he's doing. What makes him a special coach that it's kind of, and every linebacker I've talked to seems to be really enthusiastic about what he's bringing to that room?
Without a doubt, he's the best coach I've ever had, hands down. I'm not trying to sweet talk or anything like that, but he treats football like he's a teacher, and he's in the film room and on the field. He engages us. He's not the kind of coach that plays the politics, that only teaches the people he knows who's going to play. He teaches everybody in the room. He engages everybody, and that's the one thing that I love. Like, as a future coach, he's one of the coaches that I want to role model my coaching style after, 1,000%.
So, a future coach then, when did you decide, hey, that's the path I want to?
My whole life.
Whole life? It's like, you're going to be a coach whenever your playing days are done?
If my playing days do end, which I don't see them ever ending, hopefully, not hopefully, undoubtedly. But when the time does come, definitely be a coach, because I can't imagine my life without football.
Why coaching? You just love the sport so much? Or there's obviously different ways you can be in the game, but coaching specifically kind of takes a different mindset and attitude. So why is it that that's the path you want to take?
Because I love football so much, and I already know I'm going to accumulate so many knowledge. I feel that it's only right to give back what I've learned, and really, all the years that I've been through football, all the skills, teaching that I've accumulated, it's only right to give back.
And so it seems like, we're talking about Coach Cooper, he's going to become more of that teaching coach, a guy who's just, rather than kind of laying down the law, you want to teach and develop those guys.
Exactly.
Awesome. And so, when you look ahead, just about a week away from fall camp, what are some of the things that, when that month has passed, it's August 31st opener, what are some things that you want to accomplish in fall camp to make sure that that you're ready to go?
I really want to get my mentality down. I want to be able to be in the game and be under control, not be out of control in the game. So really just be in practice, be centered, realize, okay, look at down and distance, look at the play call, look what the offense is running, and not just be out there looking at the running back or looking at the offensive lineman like you're next or I'm finna get you, or just more of play more logistical than trying to dominate my opponent.
What does a successful 2023 look for James Djonkam?
Successful 2023, all Pac-12 linebacker. All Pac-12 linebacker, and I'd say, definitely win the conference. I don't see anyone in the conference that can stop us.
You have a lot of some talent in that room along. Trey Brown, kind of the veteran presence, yourself as well. Newcomer in JuJu. Will Schaefer, kind of some young up and coming backers. What's your evaluation? Maybe put on that coaching hat, if you will, and break down the strengths of this group of Sun Devil linebackers.
I say the strength as a linebacker group is that we have so much variety and people that can do different things. Like, say if we're in second and short, we got run stoppers, or if we're in third and long, we got people who can cover like DBs in our room. So it's really the versatility of our group that is our biggest strength.
And that's going to do it for this episode of Speak of the Devils. I'd like to thank our guests, Drew Pine, Cam Scadaboo, Xavier Guillory, James Djonkam, and JuJu Mitchell. There's a lot going to be going on. Fall camp, of course, kicking off July 31st. The live event, the live podcast, join us at Graduate, Friday, August 4th. It's going to be busy, and this is the busy, fun, amazing, most wonderful time of year. So make sure you stay with us on social media, on Twitter at SOTD Podcast, on Threads and Instagram at Speak of the Devils. You can find us on YouTube and Facebook as well, and give me a follow and everything at bdenny29.
I'm not calling it X.
No, it's not.
It does not exist in
the
my
dumbest
world.
Man in the world. He is just.
Anywho, yes, I echo Brad. Join us at the Graduate Hotel in Tempe next Friday, August the 4th. As I mentioned, if you could please RSVP on the site that will be linked from our social media. That just helps us get a head count, helps the folks that are running it. It's not necessarily like a reservation thing in and of itself, so it's not necessary, totally mandatory, but it just helps for preparation purposes for what we're bringing and what's going to be going on there. So we can't wait to see every single one of your beautiful faces out there. You can follow me on all the social medias at Joe Healy 42. Of course, huge shout out to our sponsors. We're getting near season time. Game time is coming upon us. If you're going to get into season mode, football mode for ASU, you got to get your meals of food at DeFalco's Deli, 2334 North Scottsdale Road in Scottsdale. You can check out their menu online at defalcosdeli.com. Talking about gearing up, need to get some real gear at Cactus Sports. The new season's coming on. The clothing that you wore last year was bad luck, and that was the reason that ASU lost games.
It's your fault.
It's your fault. So here's what you got to do. Ditch it all, go donate it, give it to a good cause, maybe take it down to Tucson, start handing out to people they can wear ASU gear, and replenish at Cactus Sports. Check their store location out at Mill Avenue. Also, of course, you can always shop online at cactussports.com. You got to be looking fresh for the start of the season. Do that at Cactus Sports. DevilsDigest.com. We tell you week in, week out. If you're not a subscriber in the huddle, number one, what are you doing? Why are you listening to us? What? Tell us your story. What is preventing you from being a member of the huddle? Because that needs to change. Go ahead and get signed up on the huddle at DevilsDigest.com. Gives you access to premium content across the Rivals network as fall camp is getting underway. The depth of the coverage is something real. Looking at the message board today, and it's just new topic after new topic, a lot of content, videos, different coverage from Hode and the staff there. So as always, become a member, devilsdigest.com. I'm sure that you will enjoy it. Jones Auto Group. If you're in the market for a new ride, if you're not, get in the market. Check out Jones Auto Group. You're going to be seeing some things here pretty soon about what they're involved with. We've talked about this, and this is a very real thing. These folks, specifically my guy, Parker Jones, been as heavily involved in the NIL scene at Arizona State as anybody has been since the onset of it a couple years ago. And I believe there's going to be some news, some social media things coming out here in the coming days that you're going to see even more about that, how vested they are, how he is, and the entire company is in Sun Devil athletics and supporting the Sun Devil community as well as ASU student athletes. So that sort of thing, the involvement that these companies such as Jones Auto Group has in the NIL space, helping out the Sun Devil community, that is largely driven, no pun intended, by the support that these companies get from diehard fans like yourself. So supporting a company, supporting a business like Jones Auto Group and everybody that we mentioned here is what makes this sort of thing work. And I know that everybody's very enthusiastic about ASU increasing what it does in the NIL space. Your activity supporting these businesses truly helps. So if you're in the market for a new ride, check them out. JonesAutoCenters.com. We'll get you in contact with Parker Jones himself. Great dude. We spent almost a better part of an hour chopping it up the other day about Sun Devil football. I'll tell you, he's just like us. So I can't tell you enough. If you're looking for a new ride, I've had a lot of success stories from folks we've referred to them. Check them out. Spaghetti Shack. I'm wearing a Spaghetti Shack shirt right now. It's hard because I'm looking at a screen right now trying to figure out the best way. There you go. I can't even, man, this is like a sobriety test right here. I swear to goodness I hadn't had anything to drink today. All right, there you go. Spaghetti Shack. They've got their Tempe South location, got the Pine Top location if you're up in the cool pines of the Lakeside Pine Top area up there. They've also got the ASU location, which they're going to have their grand opening coming up soon here as well. So a few different locations, a few different ways that you can support this Sun Devil owned business, as you know. Not just Sun Devil owned, but owned and operated by a former Sparky, the Sun Devil. Doesn't get more passionate than that. So check them out. Support Spaghetti Shack any way that you can. You can follow them on Instagram at The Spaghetti Shack. Find them on Twitter at spaghetti_shack or online. You can order. Check out their menu, thespaghettishack.com. And of course, huge thank you to Sun Devil Family Charities, a 501c3 nonprofit organization created primarily for the purpose of helping those within the Sun Devil community who have financial needs due to medical expenses. So it's a very worthy cause, an incredible organization for you all to hopefully support. They have a variety of different cornhole events throughout the valley over the course of the year that help to raise funds for that organization. We're going to be doing some things at our live show here coming up on the 4th as well. So as you know, of course, by now, Sun Devil Family Charity is a very, very, very worthy cause for your time and your resources, and you can check out what they're all about at sundevilfamily.org.
Once you're done supporting our amazing sponsors, make sure to drop us a 5-star review on the podcast platform of your choice. And Joe and I will be back. And the next time that we are, we'll actually be talking about Sun Devil football. They'll be on the practice field. It will be great.